Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Naiva Flori and it is my honor to be here as part of the Million Mom Movement Council along with Dominique Jeffries, who has been an amazing support on this council. And it is our pleasure to be on here today and share more about how you can pack the snacks and the superfoods and your family wellness travel guide and just share a little bit of tips and tricks about how you can travel so well with these superfoods. I know that for myself, it has been a huge blessing to have these superfoods in my everyday life and be able to use these superfoods when I'm on the road, when I'm on a plane, a train, a car, however I'm traveling, a bus. It's so great because it's you all you need is water and it's the best nutrients, it's the best nutrition, and you don't have to worry about the ingredients. We know that the ingredients are great. We know that it's nutrient dense, it's filling, it's going to actually sustain us way more than anything we can find at any gas station or mini mart along the way. Which, in my experience, the food at the airports, they are getting better, but they aren't the best quality and they're super high priced. And sometimes you really just don't have the choice. Same when you're, on a road trip or a train or a bus or any way that you're traveling, when you're stopping at these gas stations and mini marts and places like this, it can be really challenging to stay true to your values and your health goals when all you have access to is these quick and convenient drinks that are filled with sugar and colors and artificial flavors and all these things that actually don't support us in our everyday health. And so we're here today to share some solutions with you. But before we jump into the solutions, we would love to invite somebody here to read the pledge. So if you'd like to read our Million Mom Movement pledge, Dominique's gonna go ahead and pull it up for us, and somebody could read that to us. So please raise your hand virtually here, and we'll go ahead and unmute you, and you can read the pledge to us to set the tone and get us started on this call. So who's feeling brave? I'd love
Naiva,
to.
can you make me co-host? I can share my screen.
Absolutely. There you are. So who would like to read the pledge to us today? Anybody feeling brave?
I can read it, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay, I think she's pulling it up right now. All right, go ahead.
Okay. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I'm committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom movement.
Thank you so much, Janaisi. And would you like to share a little bit about what this movement means to you? I know you shared with us in the past, but we always like to know how the movement is impacting your life.
Yeah, definitely. The movement. I mean, this is more of a lifestyle, obviously, for me and for my son. And it's been quite the journey because I want him to get as much nutrition as he can. And it's hard for him to eat a bunch of vegetables or eat a bunch of fruits, and to be able to get used to eating vegetables and get used to eating fruits. You got to have that in your system, your body gets used to what you feed it. So even though he doesn't eat a whole lot of vegetables and he doesn't eat a whole lot of fruits all the time, when I give him this food, he's getting a lot of nutrition, and he's also building this garden in his body, that he's more likely to want these things and make better choices for himself, um, more often than not, even though he's constantly presented with horrible options everywhere in schools, everywhere we go. And, like you were saying, on road trips, family houses, like they don't always make the best choices. So he's bombarded with all of these types of foods that are not the best for him. And he may think because everybody else is eating it, that's the right thing to eat. But because his system is being nourished in a different way, um, I don't have to fight as hard for him to eat healthy, because I know he's building that foundation. He's got the foundation there. So he starts to understand a little bit better. So that's what that means to me, is that I'm helping myself and my son create a healthy body, and keep his body clean and clear of toxins, and just an overall better choice for himself. I mean, when our body's clean, our stomach is clean, our mind is clean and clear. So we just automatically make better choices. And then the universe starts to bring those choices to you more often, which is quite great.
Amazing. Yes, I agree. And, our children do what we do. So you're an example to your son of what making healthy choices looks like. And like you said, our children are exposed to all kinds of choices every day at birthday parties, at barbecues, especially during the summertime, family reunions, or even just going to the grandparents or the aunties and uncles' houses. They might not have the same lifestyle as us. And so having this foundation of, flooding our body with these nutrients and these superfoods really does support our bodies to function optimally. And then that way, when we do have the less healthy options or the sugars or the food colorings or the different things, our body knows how to maybe detox those things, or we're giving it the tools to detox those things that are not as good for us or for our children, because we all know that school's around the corner getting started again. And, again, the lunches at school aren't the best. And it's just really hard to make sure that our children are always getting the best nutrients. So, thank you so much, Denise, for sharing, what this movement means to you. And on this topic of traveling with superfoods, it is something that has really allowed me to not only stay true to my values with, reading labels, knowing what's in my food, and being able to provide myself and my family the healthiest options possible. And all I need is a bottle of water. Last month, I went on a road trip with my son through Zion National Park, and it was an amazing adventure. We spent 5 days driving through the different canyons. And, one of the things that I made sure we had with us was lots of different superfoods. And, we did, of course, indulge in some delicious foods and ice creams and different things along the way. But we also made sure and had our protein shake first thing in the morning and our superfoods throughout the day for hydration and to support us on, these long excursions that we were taking, hikes in the hot sun, and things that, were exhausting to our body, but we were really fueling our body optimally, whether we were hiking or driving or adventuring along on that road trip. We definitely were supporting our bodies with different superfoods. And I'll share some more about what those superfoods are, but I'd love to open it up and see if any of you have traveled with superfoods, and what are some of your tips and tricks for traveling with superfoods. I know that in the past, when we had the plastic shaker cups, I don't know how many of you still have a plastic shaker cup, and I don't think it works with a stainless steel one, but the apothecary fits perfectly upside down on the plastic shaker cup. And so if you're checking on luggage to go to convention this weekend, which I'm flying out this evening, then you can put an apothecary right inside of the plastic shaker cup upside down. You have to turn the bottle upside down to fit it in the shaker cup, but it fits in there with the lid on. And then you know that it's secure in there, it's protected, it's not going to break. If it does happen to break, it's all contained within that shaker cup. So that is one of my favorite tips to share, because I know we're always trying to figure out how to bring our apothecary along. And, most of us, I think, still have a plastic shaker cup laying around, or maybe an off-brand one. But that's something that I really love to bring along. And besides apothecary, you can always just turn to the Bio Relax, which also has tart cherry powder in it as a capsule form, so that you can still have that deep, restful sleep at night during your travels. And of course, you don't have to worry about it being liquid. So that's the other form of tart cherry that you can get. And I'd love to open it up for other tips and tricks that any of you would like to share. Today, we're going to have more of a community based call where we're going to share what we like to do when we travel, or the things that we found to be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. You can raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and ask you to unmute so you can share some of your tips and tricks. And so Dominique, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Naiva, that was such a good trick with the plastic shaker bottle. I didn't even think about that. I do still have one that I will consider actually doing that. But normally what I do and what I recommend to some of my customers who are afraid to travel with apothecary because of the glass, especially if they're traveling with just their carry-on and they're flying. I always tell them to get the little plastic bottles that you can get from, I think maybe even Dollar Tree or Walmart, that are what you usually use for like lotion, those little travel bottles. And I'll tell them to just pour the apothecary in that. And obviously, if they're staying for an extended time, then they might need two, but usually just one full bottle can last you. I definitely always recommend them to tape the bottle, put it in a plastic bag, because the worst thing is to have your apothecary spill out in all your clothes. So that's a really good tip that I usually use. And then I don't know how long most of these people on the call have been a part of the community, but we used to have, before we were plastic free, the stackable little small containers. So I have those, and that's usually what I put my powders in if I'm not staying for a long period of time, if I'm not traveling long. And I always put my aminos and my capsules in those little stackable containers, and it's easy to travel. I'll just put them in my backpack and I have everything with me. So that's kind of what I like to do. I know we used to also have the silicone pouches. I'm not sure if we still have those anymore, but if I have a power shake that's open, I'll stuff it in there, and it's easy to make sure that it stays, together. But I will say sometimes with traveling, if you're flying, I have been stopped. It depends on the airport, but I have been stopped before with the silicone pouches. Sometimes the power shake, they check it because they're kind of confused as to what it is. And I have also gotten stopped with my shaker, not the shaker bottle, but the portable blender because of the blades. So if you are traveling, I would recommend, just to be safe, maybe keep the portable blender in a bag that you can a checked bag. Because the worst thing is to have your portable blender caught at the airport through TSA. And, I mean, obviously we all love that portable blender. It's so handy. But sometimes if you're traveling with it, you want to make a shake at the airport, maybe bring one of the stainless steel bottles so that you can get through, and just keep your blender at home, or like I said, put it in a checked bag. So those are some of my tips as far as flying goes with the superfoods.
Amazing. Yes, thanks for the reminder about the blender, because I can't tell you how many times that I have gotten to, I'm checking on and I'm putting my stuff through security, and they're like, "You have a blade in here," and they take my blender out. And it is such a sad moment when you have to give up your Purium blender, especially before a trip when you're actually going to be using it a whole lot. So make sure it's in your checked luggage. That's a great tip. And then of course, like you said, bring the shaker bottle into the airport with you. What I love about that is most airports have the water filtration systems around the airport where you can get filtered water. You're saving water bottles, right? You're not wasting more plastic on getting a water bottle. And let's also face it, a water bottle at the airport is anywhere from $5 to $10, and it's in plastic. And well, there's a whole list, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. Let's just stick to taking our stainless steel cup with us, or another cup on the go. Fill it up when you get into the airport, past the security check-in. You can fill it up, have your fresh cold water, and then you can add your superfoods to it, whatever you like to take on the plane. I love like the stacker cups that she was mentioning for traveling are really great, because when you have those stacker cups, you can bring small amounts of whatever you love to have on the go. So if you want to have a power shake on the go, or one of your favorite protein shakes, or you can even make a combination of them and be able to have them just available for you when you're ready and hungry, right? So all you need is water, and you mix your superfoods and you go. You can also have things like Cocoa Hydrate, Aloe Digest, can't beat this. Those are some of my favorite juice ones that are just really hydrating. They'll, help you to drink more water and stay hydrated, first of all, because we all know that having a little bit of flavor in our water definitely helps it go down and helps us to want to drink more of it, right? So definitely bring whatever your favorite superfoods are. And then of course, there's other different things that you can add in to that. A lot of times what I recommend when we're traveling, we are getting exposed to a lot of radiation if you're getting on a plane. So one of the things I always recommend, radiation, is heavy metals that goes into our body. That's how it gets absorbed. So when we're going through an X-ray machine, as well as when we're flying on the actual plane, there's a lot of radiation, and our body absorbs that as heavy metals. So we talk a lot about heavy metals, how to detox heavy metals. And one of the things that's really helpful for binding and removing heavy metals and offsetting that radiation that we're exposing ourselves to is to take cracked cell chlorella. cracked cell chlorella is really great at purifying your blood. It's really great for detoxing, like binding and pulling out heavy metals. And so I really recommend taking some cracked cell chlorella. I definitely have been taking some the past few days. I'm going to take some more after this call before I get on my flight this evening. And, and usually once I get to my destination, I can take them with me. Cracked cell chlorella is so great too, because it comes in those little tablets. So they're really easy to travel with. They're easy to take. You can just, chew them up or swallow them with water. And then to enhance the detoxification process of heavy metals, you can also add in the fulvic zeolite. So those two together help to bind and remove heavy metals. And so if you do that over a period of a few days, you're definitely going to be binding and pulling out a lot of the exposure to the heavy metals that you've put your body through. So these are just different ways that you can empower yourself and your body so that we can, stay healthy throughout our travels and really be fueling our body with the best options. And especially because some of the time we might have to choose things that are not at the top of our list, right? Sometimes I was traveling this summer and I have to admit we were in a food desert for a good proportion of it. Once we got out of Colorado and got into like Wyoming and Nebraska and South Dakota, I definitely felt like I was in a food desert. It was definitely hard to find good organic food. I was reading labels and very disappointed with what I was finding, and even more disappointed in the fact that I couldn't find anything that was really edible. I went to several stores where I just walked down the aisles and literally there's nothing in there that I wanted to buy, even not even the fruit juice, because it was all made from concentrate with added sugars and all kinds of things. And so I ended up walking out most of the time with a bottle of water so I could go make myself a shake. And that's the blessing of what we have here, is that we have something that is easy to travel with. It will help you save money, and it's really nutrient dense and has everything that you need to keep you healthy on the go. So I really love that. And when you're in those food deserts, there was some of the times there was actually a store. I'll share a little story. There was a store called Superfoods, and I was so excited. I think it was in Nebraska. And so I went in, I was thinking I was going to find some healthy options because the store is called Superfoods Super Center or something like that. So I was like, oh, cool. They're going to have awesome things here. I went in there and it's off-brand generic food. So it's like the cheap food that is off-brand and even cheaper than cheap food. So like the Wonder Bread was even cheaper and called some other version of, Wonder Bread. And the sodas were, I think, a Surefine brand, which is like an off-brand of sodas, of the brand name sodas with sugars and colors and flavors and all those things. And as I was walking through the store and even in the produce section, everything just looked so dull. Nothing looked alive, nothing was vibrant. The watermelon was dull, the tomatoes were dull, the carrots, the corn, everything was dull. And of course you walk outside and there's just fields and fields and fields of GMO corn and soy and wheat for as far as you can see for miles and miles and miles. And so this was the reality. And it really was something that, because I'm so passionate about talking about glyphosate and the issues around our food and the chemicals in our food and the exposures that we have to glyphosate, I did definitely walk across the street and make some videos in those cornfields where there was grass that was growing so green and beautifully. And 2 feet away from it was a totally dead field. And the only thing growing in it was little baby corns, but the grass and everything around the corn was completely dead. And it was really sad to see that because that is food that people are consuming. If you think about corn, it's in our chips, it's in our cereals, it's in our crackers, it's in our breads. It's literally in everything that we eat. And if it's not the actual cornmeal, then it's usually in the form of corn syrup or corn solids or these other forms of corn that they've derived. And so it's something that's really alarming. And I'm really grateful that as we're going on road trips and taking planes and going on vacations, that we have Biomedic, which is really helpful to help detox glyphosate out of our gut so that when we are exposed to these chemicals, whether it's in the food that we're eating at these different places, whether it's at the airport or the gas station or different places that you end up, that you at least have a way to detox the chemicals out of your body and be able to absorb your nutrients better. So that's a little bit about what I want to share, and I'd love to see if anybody else has anything to share as well. Would anybody else like to share your tips and tricks for traveling?
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, sorry, I'm trying to find my hand.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to speak to this because yes, a few years ago I was in West Virginia for a family reunion, and the same thing. There's all this farms and food growing, and I thought, oh, great, we're gonna like get some fruit. And same thing. The grocery stores, I couldn't even find the produce section. It was this tiny little area in the back of the store. It was so sad. And I was with my mom and I'm like, do you see, like, this is a food desert. This is what they're talking about. So I just wanted to, yeah, piggyback on what you just said. It's really, really sad.
It is really sad. And there's a lot of places in our country like that. And those of us that are so fortunate to live with a health food store down the street or even in our town don't even realize that there are towns out there that don't have a health food store for hundreds of miles. I know some people that have to drive over an hour to go to a store where they can do their groceries and not just buy, a sandwich and a bag of chips or whatever the normal convenient thing is that people buy at these big, these stores where there just really isn't too much options, especially if you are conscious about reading labels, if you're trying to avoid, chemicals, preservatives, food colorings, over processed foods. It can be really hard out there to find the quality of food that you want. And so, like I said, I was so impressed by the Superfoods store. And then I was so saddened by the reality of what was in there and that the store name was so deceptive. I was really saddened by that. But what I did see down the street from there, as I was leaving that town, was I did see that there was a farm. It was a regenerative farm, and I was really happy to see that, despite the fact that I just drove for like hundreds of miles through GMO cornfields and wheat and soy and all the other things. There was a farm and it had big signs on it that said, or do not spray. We do not spray here, regenerative farming only. We grow local. They actually had local meat that they were raising, grass-fed beef on their regenerative farm. And they had big signs all around it that said that it was organic. They were farming organic, regenerative beef there. And so it was something that was, at least it made me happy that there was people within that state that are trying to transition to regenerative agriculture and trying to take the land back. And for anybody that hasn't seen the difference between the soil when it's regenerative, like regenerative farming versus commercial farming, it is a drastic change. As drastic, you can literally see the difference in the ground and like how green the grass is on the regenerative side and how brown and dead everything is on the chemically sprayed side. And the only things that are growing in there is whatever the GMO seeds are that are made to withstand the chemicals they're spraying. So it's a really sad sight. And definitely if you happen to be driving through a state with any of these kinds of sceneries, do me a favor, pull over, make a quick video and talk about the issue versus the solution that we have with Biomedic and how we can really support more people. Because as we're on our road trips, it's becoming more and more of an issue across the country with so many of the farmlands being bought up by people that really are pushing the commercial farming aspect of things. And so without going too far down that rabbit hole, I just want to encourage you all to, share what you know and let others know that we're concerned about our food system and how our food is grown. Because if we don't share, then other people just don't know what this issue is. And so we have to share what we know so that other people can learn as well. And that's really what we're here to do as part of the Million Mom movement, is to share what we've learned so other people can learn, right? We don't know what we don't know. And so it takes each one of us shouting from the rooftops to share this with the next people that are going to be a part of this movement with us. And so I'd love to open it up if anybody else would like to share some of your traveling tips and tricks on the go. What are your favorite superfoods to take with you when you're traveling? What is a cool tip that you would like to share with the community? I will share also that our biodegradable pouches, our Terra pouches, are great. I love those. And as I've been moving this last week, I found a whole stash of these Terra pouches that I've been stockpiling for a while, but I do reuse them, and I love to reuse them for snacks. You can reuse them for sandwiches. You can reuse them for, some of your crackers or chips. You can reuse them for things like if you're going to make some protein bliss bites or bliss balls or whatever you call them. You can make your protein bites and, roll them up into little balls, and you can put them in your little Terra pouches and take those with you on the go as you travel. So it's a really great way to reuse those Terra pouches and feel good about the fact that, like, when you're throwing them away, you're not using another Ziploc sandwich baggie and you're not putting your food in plastic. And so that's another fun trick that I always like to share, because I feel like, the Terra pouches are such a great thing that we can reuse. And sometimes we forget that they are reusable, and they give everything such a great flavor and smell. Like when I put something in the dark berry pouch, like whatever it is that I had in there smells like dark berry shake, and it smells delicious. And so, of course, put your sandwich in like the spirulina pouch or something that's not going to taste like dark berry, because that might be an interesting, flavor sensory thing. But you can reuse those Terra pouches in so many ways. Dominique, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, that's another great idea, Naive. It's almost like we have Purium Ziploc bags. Almost we can use them as little sandwich bags. But yeah, I'm also in the process of moving, actually moving in a few days, and I have been relying so much on my superfoods, but also just meal prepping at the same time to make sure that I have food ready while I'm packing and throwing away things and in and out of the house, moving furniture and things like that. So lately, I've been really relying on Commute and also Power Shake. Obviously, the core four is just a standard, just to make sure my gut is supported with Biomedic, and then the Apothecary at night with Pineal Clear, so that I can get deep, restful sleep. Because I'm honestly, like, my nervous system is just thinking about all the things I have to get done, that I sometimes you might not sleep as well. So having that extra support with the Apothecary and Pineal Clear has definitely helped me feel a lot more rested in the midst of all of this. And I actually had someone come and pick up some furniture yesterday, and I had the Power Shake and the Kamut on my counter, and she was actually curious about it. So as you were talking about being able to share what we have with more people and just encourage them to take a look, encourage them to learn more about what makes our nutrition so superior. She happened to see it just sitting on my counter, and she was like curious to know what I do for work. So I shared it with her. I shared a gift card code with her, and it was just really seamless and easy to do. And I also have had a ton of stainless steel shaker bottles I've just accumulated over the years, and I can't bring all of them with me the way that I'm traveling and moving. So I've actually been gifting them to people, and I have like QR codes with my business card, my gift card in that I put in the stainless steel shaker bottle that's empty, and I gift it to people and just, thanking them for supporting me with the move. But then also, if they're interested in learning more about high quality organic nutrition, they have a resource. So there's a lot of different things that we can do with what we have, definitely nourishing ourselves. But if you kind of leave little things out, it's a really great conversation starter and a great way for you to share and inspire people with what we have.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's so true. As we're traveling, we're meeting new people along the way. So whether you're on a road trip and you're stopping at rest areas, or whether you're in an airport and sitting there waiting on your layover for your next flight, or maybe you're sitting next to a new person on your flight, these are great, ways to just start conversations and meet new people, ask them where they're going, what they're doing, if they've done anything exciting this summer, and just strike up a conversation, because you just never know where you're going to meet new people that might be inspired by what it is that we're doing, whether they're interested in improving their health or whether they're interested in having better options while they're traveling, right? Because maybe they're finding really difficult to find healthy options that they want to consume during their travels. And so that can be a really great conversation starter of like, have you found anything good to eat here at the airport today? You know, and they're like, well, you know, there's a juice bar down the way, or the different things that there might be. You know, now there is starting to be more places that serve acai bowls or smoothies or different things, or though a lot of them have, you know, the questionable ingredients, we'll just say, because they all have like more sugar than probably we would like, or not as much, you know, nutrient density as we would like, but it's still better than some of the other options out there. And so striking up conversations and making new friends along the way. I know something that we often say is like, I don't know, I've already talked to everybody I know. I don't know who else to talk to. And when we're traveling, it's really a perfect opportunity to make new friends and meet new people and just get to know who they are and how we can serve them, because that's really what we're here to do, is to help more people have access to these organic superfoods, whether it's for health or whether they'd like to join our community and build a business with us. So thanks for sharing a little bit about that, Dominique. Really great tip. And if anybody, I see Yesenia would like to share, I go ahead and unmute you. Thanks for coming on and sharing.
Yes, hi. Always learning from you guys. Thanks for sharing as well. Um, I I really like the nutrition that Purion gives you. I didn't use it in December, and it's been very practical when I've had a busy day that I could just, make sure that I'm getting my nutrition, not worry too much about what am I going to have for lunch, right? So just try to take as much as I can, my green shake and my other things. But it's really great. I love it. And right now that you mentioned about the gift code, how does that work? If someone would like to, I've heard about the card. Is that like a business card that we can order?
Yeah, so Yesenia, are you a brand partner or a
I don't
customer?
know
Here,
if you can hear me. Yeah. Oh,
I think there's some lag time. It's cutting in
it
and out a little
sounds
bit.
far, right? Can you hear me? There. Okay, now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Were you able to? Oh, okay. So you were able to listen to what I mentioned or no? It didn't go through? I
Yeah,
was
I did
asking
hear what
about
you said. Are
the
you a brand partner or a customer with Purium? If you're a brand partner, then
brand partner.
you have a discount code. And if you're not yet, you can talk to your sponsor and they can help you to get your own discount code that you can give to your friends or clients so that they can have access to the superfoods.
Yeah, I am a brand partner, but I don't know where do I go to like to get those business cards that have for me to hand them.
So I believe you can get them from the corporate office. Dominique, did you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I was gonna say the ones that I use, I have when you order the transformation book, which now comes complimentary, I believe, with brand partners. But when I received mine, it had little QR codes that had my name connected to it with my gift card code. So that's what I've been using. I also do have created my own business cards through Canva, but I believe that, like Naiva said, that through Purium you are able to do so. But I would check with your upline mentor and see how you can go about that. But it's really simple to do. I just have a code to, the site, but that's what I've been doing as far as sharing it and giving it to people that way. But you can also do the virtual permalink. If you just get their contact information, you can send them the permalink through your app. And that's really easy. So that way you stay connected to them and you have their information as well. That's the number one way I recommend.
Rather than business. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many ways to get them the discount code, and definitely you can always get more additional coaching from your sponsor that can really help guide you with what tools to use, what videos to share, or how to get a virtual gift card code as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, if anybody else would like to share some of your tips and tricks for traveling with superfoods, we'd love to invite you to come and share what it is that you do when you're traveling. I know there is a ton of people currently traveling to convention. So if you're on your way to convention and you hopped on the Zoom anyways, thank you so much for hopping on here. And if you're not gonna make it to convention, you can attend virtually. So if you haven't yet purchased your virtual convention tickets, I definitely want to encourage you to go ahead and get that virtual convention ticket because you're not going to want to miss out on the information shared at convention. It really is an amazing opportunity for you to learn more about our community, our mission, get to know the owners, get to know the top income earners in our community, and just get really inspired. And we have a special guest that's going to be there this weekend, Carrie Gillum. We actually have interviewed her here on this platform through the Million Mom Movement a few years ago for her book called The Monsanto Papers. So if you haven't yet heard of that book and you're interested in learning more about glyphosate that we've been talking about quite a bit today, then definitely go look at the Monsanto Papers. It's a really great book and it talks all about glyphosate and the reason why it's such an issue in our environment right now. And then, of course, we have a solution with Biomedic. So coming on to that virtual convention, if you're not going to be there in person, will really be helpful and beneficial to you to learn more about Carrie Gillum and the book that she came out with a few years ago and everything else that corporate's going to be sharing this weekend. So I just want to invite you all to go ahead and jump on with us if you're not going to be there in person. Dominique, do you have any other travel tips before we start to close out?
I would say just always, always, always pack your superfoods, which I'm sure everyone on this call is definitely going to do. It's just important to have on hand, not definitely because you don't know what you're going to have access to, but just to make sure you fill your cup before, you travel or whatever it is, whatever activities it is that you're doing. Like I mentioned, I'm in the process of moving, so it's a lot of just moving parts. I know Naive is doing the same thing. So making sure that my cup is full, that I have access to, all the things that I need to feel my best so that I can perform my best with the move and feel grounded once I get there is really important. But yeah, if you're just going on a summer trip, you want to make sure that, you feel your best. And we all know that our superfoods support us in doing that. And like I also mentioned earlier, it's a great conversation starter. It's a great way to meet new people and also share your story and to meet people in alignment with your lifestyle, especially if you have the Power Shake in a bottle where you can see the greens, because that's an instant conversation starter. Just curious to know what it is that you have. But yeah, just make sure you always just pack them and have them ready. And then definitely share with us, what tips you or just what you're bringing with you while you're traveling and how it makes you feel. Definitely tag us, on social media so we can share it. Because I think that someone mentioned earlier that this food is our lifestyle, right? And when we show our lifestyle, we show what keeps us in alignment with feeling our best. We can inspire other people to just take a look and feel the same way. Because I know when I moved here to Florida from Kentucky 7 years ago, I didn't know about Purium. And I remember along the way, we stopped at Steak and Shake and Waffle House to eat. And I remember finally, I was driving and finally getting here in Florida, I felt awful. And I was tired all the time and I was bloated. And you want that quick, accessible food that is not without spending, so much money on food, but you end up getting something that's cheap. And that was all I knew at the time. So if I had known about Purium and had a Power Shake on hand, I would have felt so much better. I would have been a lot more clear in my mind and in my spirit with all the decisions you have to make when you're moving. And I'm grateful that now here I am 7 years later, it's all come full circle and I'm just a lot more mobile and just in a better space all around. So also, if you know someone that's moving, definitely share my story and Naiva's story with them and share, a Power Shake with them to support them throughout their move. But that was all I wanted to add to that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, moving is no joke. And you and I are in the same boat this week. And, something that as I was moving and I was moving everything into a storage this last couple of weeks, and the thing that I kept, available and accessible the whole time was all my superfoods. I put them, in a nice little caddy that I had, and I had them convenient in the kitchen as I packed away my entire kitchen and everything else in the house. The one thing that stayed convenient was the filtered water and the superfoods that I could always access at any time of the day or night. And up until yesterday, and I really didn't want to put it in the storage yesterday, but I was like, I have to put the rest of my things in storage so that I can fly out tonight. And so, as I've been doing this, I have been fueling myself with superfoods and it's been so beneficial. And on the tip that you just said, Dominique, when we're traveling, when we're moving, no matter what we're doing, the convenient options out there, there are times when we are gonna just cave in and do the convenient option. Whatever the best option is that we're doing at that moment, that's gonna be the best that we can do in that given moment. So don't beat yourself up for it, first of all. And second of all, just know that when you're fueling yourself with these superfoods, you're offsetting any of those unhealthy things that are coming from whatever that thing is that you had to do in that moment because you were about to board a plane or you were about to get in the car, or you're on a road trip and time is limited and you're going to buy whatever it is, no judgments. We all have to make those hard choices at times and buy the thing that maybe isn't optimal for our health, but we can offset it with our superfoods. And if we continue to put our superfoods into our bodies, then our bodies know how to process all of those, chemicals or food colorings or sugars or things that we put in those moments. Sometimes it might be at a birthday party and there's cake, or it might be, when we're on the go at different occasions that we're traveling to or from. And the other thing that I would also share is that a lot of times we think fast food is cheaper, and it's actually not cheaper, right? Fast food has actually become quite expensive. I am not somebody that frequents the fast food restaurants, but I will tell you, I'm pretty sure it's 10 or $15, probably 20 bucks if you get a drink with your meal. And that is not cheap. That's not cheap if you ask me. And with the ultimate lifestyle transformation, for about $13 a day, you can be replacing 2 meals a day with protein, fruits, vegetables, and Biomedic to support your gut health and offset any of the unhealthy things that we're doing along the way. So I encourage you to invest in your lifestyle, invest in your health, invest in becoming part of our community, because here at the Million Mom Movement, we're just here to share tips and tricks, share encouragement and support. And, none of us are perfect. We're all learning along the way and supporting each other the best way we know how. And so we're going to go ahead and close out. Dominique, if you'll pull up the screen and share our closeout information.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining us today. And let me go ahead and pull this up. Like Naiva said, I know she's getting ready to head to convention, and we can't wait to see all of your posts and all of you that are going, or even watching virtually too, to share what you learned and just how inspired you feel. I know every time I am in belly to belly with Dave and Amy and all, our whole Curium family, I just feel so much more connected and inspired to my mission, why we're all here. So I'm definitely excited to see all the takeaways from convention. And speaking of convention, next Thursday, our call is going to be Curium takeaways from convention. So if you are going to be at convention and you're going to be watching virtually, please join us again next Thursday, the same link, same time. So we'd love to have you on and just share what your takeaways are, what you learned, how connected you felt. This is really what makes our community so important, is having you here to share your takeaways, because that's what helps, us grow and is really our story. So that's going to be next Thursday, the last Thursday of the month. And like you can see here, please take a screenshot, please like, follow, and share with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook, you can join our private group. And then on Instagram, you can follow us and tag us in any of your stories or posts, especially from convention. Please tag us with everything, food that you eat there, who you met, interviews, just everything that you've learned. And then, yes, our YouTube, you can subscribe. Naiva always uploads these calls after we, post them, and you can always share them with your team or your community and inspire people to learn more. There's also thousands of replays that you can share of other testimonials and stories when it comes to families, being supported with our community. So join us again next Thursday. And thank you all so much for being here. Have a safe weekend and a great time at convention, and we'll see you again soon.